91.3 FM, Real College Radio, RSU Radio in studio. I'm Garrett, joined with Lauren Clare.
Yes.
Hello. Hi. The lead singer and songwriter of the project, Allie Lauren, correct?
Indeed.
Now, your name is not Allie.
Correct.
It's an homage to your great-grandmother, correct?
It is.
Why did she inspire you?
Well, she was sort of the matriarch of the family whenever I was born, and her children, and as well as my grandfather, who was married to her child, they both were musicians and both really inspired me musically, and they were really the first ones to sort of see that I was gravitating towards music and kind of push me in that direction.
Your style has been defined as indie pop jazz.
Correct.
Those are three not necessarily very different things, but you don't see them fused together very often. Are there some similar artists or some people that you look up to in that same style of genre?
I don't know that I've heard anything necessarily similar, but there are different artists that I do look up to. Fiona Apple is really a songwriter that I admire, is at the top of that list for me. Corinne Bailey Rae. I guess in today's age, I would say maybe some of Kimbra's live stuff is probably the closest thing that I've heard to what we do.
The songwriting process or something like that, how important are the lyrics opposed to just the music?
I think the lyrics are everything. I think you can have an amazing track to a song, but have poor lyrics, and for me, that just equals a bad song to me. But I think you can have some really in-depth lyrics and have just simplistic music behind it, and it's an entirely different ball game than when the opposite is the case.
Do most of the songs you write have meaning to them? A lot of people just write songs, and you played a few, some seem more personal, I guess.
They are. Pretty much all of my songs, especially on this last album, were really personal. Some of them I wrote several years back when I was in school and just going through different things. So a lot of them are really drawing from personal issues and personal experiences, and I think that's important when you write a song.
You started playing piano at 2. It's hard enough to walk at 2. What's it like learning something at such a young age? It's almost like learning a language, I guess. If you start early enough, then it may be easier to grasp, but 2 seems really early.
Basically what happened is my grandmother would always be rehearsing at the organ and the piano in the house, and I would climb up to the piano, whichever she wasn't at. The organ was right across from the piano, so whichever she wasn't sitting at, I would crawl up to the other and start trying to mimic whatever she was doing. Sesame Street would come on, and I would try and play, the theme song. So they took me down to OU to Dr. Kowalczyk, and I had a little audition, if you want to call it that. And she took me on, and so we started lessons. From what I'm told, at first it was learning things by ear, and then once I think I was like 3 or 4 or so, then I started actually learning to read notes and all that kind of stuff.
You went to study vocal studies.
I did.
Can you explain that? What vocal studies is? Is it just a study of the voice?
Yeah, so I did vocal performance, so it's very operatic based, and you do a lot of study of the history of just music in general, vocal music and opera, and a lot of theory, pedagogy, which is kind of the more structural study of the voice, biological study. It's a really great experience.
You mentioned also that whenever you were in high school, a lot of people were going to be doctors or lawyers, and you were going into the arts, and you felt, I guess, outcasted. I'm a communication, radio, TV major, so I know what that means, but it seems like arts majors get not necessarily a negative rap, but people kind of think, what are you going to do with this?
They do. For a while, I thought, well, I could, be an opera singer or go to Broadway, or I could teach. And I always kind of had in the back of my mind, because I was always scribbling in my journal, always writing something or another. And so I always kind of had in the back of my mind what it really was that I wanted to do. But from time to time, I would kind of, go on these little bunny trails, if you want to call it, and do other things. But it was a bit isolating, just because you are kind of the different one. And at that particular age, it's not really cool to be different. And I mean, when you look back at it, it's like, well, why? You know, what does it matter if you're different or not?
You won the Chilton L. Powell Award for the most creative talent at the age of 17. Can you explain what that award is?
Sure. It's basically an award that goes to whomever the senior class deems the most creative talent in the class. And I honestly didn't expect to get it. I mean, there was another guy in my class who was a singer who has sung all over the state, who I expected to get it. When they called my name, I had that was my first inkling that anyone even saw that in me or saw that creative side, just because I always kind of felt like the nerdy weird girl. And so it really was kind of a boost to make me think, okay, you know, I should just continue doing what it is that I love doing.
I like that. It's a good message.
Thanks.
Your album is out now. It released last year.
Yes.
What's the recording process like, and what's it like having it out and for people to get now?
It's amazing to have it out. The recording process, it was really fun. I was nervous going into it just because I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I, of course, had all these ideas in my head, and I came into the studio to Chris, the producer that I worked with. To his demise, I came in with this, you know, packet of each song and kind of notes and what I wanted to come in where and all of this, and he was just like, what is this? I've never seen anybody do this detailed. With, like, usually we just gotta come in, sit around, figure stuff out, blah blah. And you know, but he was like, you know, your ideas, you know, are actually pretty valid, you know, so let's kind of use this as a map and go from there. It was an amazing experience just to hear it all come to life. Because like I said, a lot of these songs I had written a few years prior, so they had just been in my head all this time. So to actually hear them audibly when we would sit there, I was like, oh, it's my music. So yeah, it was an incredible experience, and it's so fun now to have it out and to be able to grow from that and think, okay, you know, this is what I want to do with the next project, or this gives me an idea for, you know, the next thing that we're working on. So
you're also going to be playing at Center of the Universe.
I am.
On Friday.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? Where you're going to be, and you know, a festival like this, what's it like being a part of it?
It's incredible to be a part of. There's some huge acts coming through, so I feel so honored to be a part of it. We're going to be playing Friday night at 11 p.m. at Blue in the Brady District in Tulsa.
Great.
Yep.
Cool. So now we'll give you a chance to self-plug, self-promote,
Okay.
Talk about where people can find you,
Sure.
where your shows coming up other than Center of the Universe, and just kind of talk about Allie Lauren.
Sure. So you can find me on Facebook. It's official Allie Lauren. You can find me on Twitter. It's Allie L Tweets. Online is just allielauren.com.
Lauren Clare,
Yes.
lead singer and songwriter for Allie Lauren. She's going to be at Center of the Universe. You can check her online. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.